All right, so we are going live with a great artist that goes by the Instagram handle I am Kavi. Give me 1 sec here to get her linked in, and we'll be sure to kick things off immediately.
Hi
Hi,
there.
Kavi. Thanks. How are you? I'm doing
How's
well.
it
Doing
going?
well. So let's give some folks a minute to join. While they do, I'll give a quick intro. So for those of you that don't know me, my name is Josh Casper. I'm the founder of Art Basel and Beyond. And today we're going to be doing a virtual studio interview with an incredible artist that goes by the Instagram handle I am Kavi. Or is it I am Kavi? Remind me. Perfect.
It's
So we
I
got
am
both.
Kavi.
Some things that I love about her work is
Yeah.
that it's inspired from the music of the 1960s and the whole cultural revolution. So I love it when there's inspiration and a story behind an artist's work. So keep in mind, for these studio visits,
Mm.
there's really three things that we're focused on. So number one, we of course want to learn about the artist's background, what got them into the art world. Number two, we want to learn about the inspiration behind their pieces, which I've already touched on a tiny bit. And number three, we want to make sure that we showcase the artist's work for you all to see out in the audience. And then, of course, the studio, so you can see where the art comes from. And then Kavi and I spoke beforehand, and we're going to share some crazy client stories as well, I believe. So I think with that, Kavi, I'll kick things over to you. If you can tell us a little bit about your background, I understand that you're from Bombay. I'd love to learn about your journey over to the
Mm.
States.
Yeah, so I was just born in Bombay in India, and my parents basically they were already in the United States, but they had me in India because they couldn't afford, the health insurance here. And so I was literally born there, and then they brought me back to America. And I grew up in
Oh,
LA
love
actually
LA.
for 12
Great place.
years. And yeah. And so I grew up in like a joint family with my dad's older brother, who was married to an English woman who played the
Oh,
Beatles and Rolling Stones and like Beach Boys all the time. So that's kind of where my love also for music in that era came from because it just felt like home. Like LA was the first place where I felt, besides India, eventually, like it just had a really special place in my heart. And music always has. And so it's also helped me create even to
LA
this
has
day.
such an incredible art scene. I'm actually
Mhm.
going to LA in a few weeks. Do you think
Mm.
being raised in LA had any impact on you wanting to become an artist and to get your work out there?
I think actually more of the impact for me is being born in Bombay. It was my only connection to my country. I always felt like I was in between two places all the time because, of course, I look Indian, I sound, American. And so it's like, it was really difficult, like for me to have an identity in those two worlds. And so for me, like also, my parents would always send me to India in the summer, so I'd spend 3 months every year in the summer in India, and I loved it. But over there, they're like, "You're American, you're not Indian," and over here, it was the opposite. So I never felt like I actually could fit in a certain place. So that was always very sad for me, and it's a lot of same feelings for a lot of people in my culture.
So do you
So
feel that
in
the
my
art is
country.
kind of a way to bridge that gap and kind of break down those barriers? Do you try to
Mhm.
communicate that in some of your pieces?
For sure. So like when I first started painting more, I've always painted since I was a little girl. But when I actually started painting, it wasn't until I was moving into my new home and I was trying to find inspiration and things that I liked, but I wanted something also to do with my culture, but very modern. And I couldn't really find what I liked, what I would want for my house. So I was like, let me just create it, And I started painting more. And before I would do a lot of things with like name brands like Chanel, Gucci, Fendi, and I love fashion so much. So even in my pieces today, you can see there's a lot of mixed media, a lot of pearls, a lot of gold, spikes, like all of that stuff. But it used to be with the name brands and it just never felt authentic to me. Like I wanted more for my art. I wanted a deeper connection because I just felt such a deep connection with what I was creating. And it wasn't with the name brands, it was an easy sell. I would be selling my work. I sold out my first collection within a couple months in Miami. I had a show in Wynwood, and it just didn't feel good.
Name brand art to sell. That makes complete
Yeah.
sense. So that's actually a great jumping off point. Can you show the audience some of your work so they can see it? And one of the things that I like about Kavi's pieces is that it's kind of like a genre of your own. It's kind of like a blend between, I'd say, modern and contemporary art. It's mixed media. I love when you
Yeah.
get multiple genres and multiple types of materials on the canvas. I think it's just so cool and so unique. A lot of times when
Hmm.
we look at art, we say, oh, this is similar to this artist and that is similar to that artist. When I was looking at your art, I couldn't really think of who it
Hmm.
was similar to, and I thought that was a good thing. It,
Yeah. I love that. Yeah, I love hearing that. Okay, so this is one of the pieces right here. And this is all with shattered glass and also black
amazing.
volcanic glass up top. And it's just layered with resin, and I use spray paint and like all different kinds of materials. It's just all layered together. And underneath is an actual Indian prayer. And so I always like to tie in my culture with my pieces, not just with the Indian girls, but there's like some hidden like subtext in there too, or my poetry is also in there. And because I just
I
love
saw
to
that
write
on your
as well.
website, and I thought that was
So
so unique. So I didn't realize you write the poetry that goes into the pieces as well. So it's not even someone else's poetry.
yeah. No, no, no. What's really crazy is like when I write, it's so free flowing. I don't even remember sometimes, like, if I've even, after I've created a piece, I'll just look at it and I'm like, did I do that? Like something just takes over me when I'm creating. It's a very outer body experience. It's very meditative. And I've been asked before, like, how do I also get my inspiration? And I have to say, like, a lot of it, it's I dream a lot of these concepts, which is really special. Like, I don't know if you believe in that, but I have very vivid dreams. I have specific people who tell me what to create sometimes, and so sometimes I don't even realize that when I'm in the process, it doesn't feel like I'm actually painting it until after. Even I still don't even understand how
Look,
I
I
do some of this stuff,
good. How do you
So,
come up with the idea? So if we go back to that other piece that you showed us, how do you come up with the idea for like the volcanic rock, the glass? Like, how do you come up with that? Is that stuff that comes through the
mhm.
dreams, or is that like you kind of get a vision in the dream, and then when you're ready to put it on canvas, you kind of think like these are the different mediums that I can use? I'm just curious, like what the process.
Yeah. So it's a little bit of both. For example, like I'll get dreams of different textures of like things that I've seen from
Okay.
even when I was a child, and so I'll kind of gather that, and then I'll go down aisles and different stores, and sometimes I'll just pull from that, or I'll see something that I like and I know I can turn it into something else. And it's like a gravitational pull. It's just like I just
So do you
know that I
ever
have
like
to use it,
meditate in the studio? You strike me as the type that would use meditation. as kind of like a means to create work. Am I going in the right direction with that?
Yeah, no, I definitely do. I actually have been pulling tarot cards for the past, I want to say year and a half now. And yeah, and I really love them. I kind of like starting, I don't do it every day, but I like to do it like maybe every, I
Yeah,
don't know, at least twice a week, Just depends on my mood. And it kind of it gets me in a good start of the day and like how to create and I love my crystals. I always am holding them and because I wasn't always confident when it came to my art because no one ever really made me feel like I was talented enough to
okay.
actually do this full time and even to be an artist. I remember my art teacher in sixth seventh grade, seventh, eighth grade, told my parents, like, oh, she needs to think about going to art school. And my parents were like, she's not even an artist. Like, does she even draw? Or like, is she even good enough for that? And it's because, also in our culture, in our society, we are taught to like do something very safe or,
Definitely.
you know, um, they really
Yeah.
wanted me to go in the medical field, or like computer
Especially,
science or something
I
like
would say
that.
art is definitely
So
not. So while we're in the studio, can you show us around a
yeah,
little bit? Is there anything like, the,
yeah, of course. Yeah, so this is my office area. You walk in, and then I have a nice
you need
little
that?
wine
That's
fridge
crucial.
for, yeah, you know. I actually have a lot of my friends have keys, so when they get mad at their significant others, they can just let themselves in. And then, so we have some art here. And then you can see too, it's like encapsulated
I
with
love it. It's
bullets,
so
bullet
different. So unique.
casings. Yeah. So, and that's, and then this is the office area. And then I have like my sofa. And then this is a new piece that I
Oh,
just
yeah,
finished. I
yeah.
don't know if you can see it. Here we go. Right there. Yeah. So that's brand new. And this is a little desk. I have my kids come in here whenever, they want and have some time. And then this is actually I really like the bathroom. It's really fun. So it's here we go. It's bright pink.
You've got the
So
whole setup.
then I
So
have some
the components of your
yeah.
past in these pieces. I love that you're a spiritual person, and I feel
Hmm.
that translates into the pieces.
Hmm.
I feel like you could see it in not only what's on the canvas,
Yeah.
but the coloration as well. Let me ask you this. So you do this full time, and that is a huge commitment. I think when people decide to go into
Mm.
art full time, saying this in a very nice way. It's kind of like jumping off because your destiny is
Yeah,
totally in your hands. What was that? What made you decide
definitely.
to do this full time?
Okay, I'm trying to like work this thing. Okay, so basically, I was a realtor for about a couple years, and I was doing real estate, and on the side, I was painting. And a couple people, so I live in Daytona Beach, a couple people saw my artwork, and they asked me if I could do some paintings for them, and then I sold them, and then they would tell their friends, and then so on. And it was just getting to a point where I was just so busy with, trying to take care of two kids, real estate, and then also painting. And I had to really make a choice between one or the other. And it was really hard to decide to go the painting route. And but I took a chance and I did it. And honestly, like within a couple months, I want to say the first month, I won this contest in Miami and I ended up showing my work in Wynwood
Congrats. That's
and I sold out. And yeah, and then the second month, I got contacted with this restaurant owner in New
all
York
that
and
on
I
your
did my
site. I'll have
first
to link.
mural. Yeah. And then from there, I had like this. this person reached out to me to do PR and, pro bono, and he really liked my work. And then I got some articles, and honestly, like it just took off. Like I just started creating so much after that, and I just kept going. And luckily, everything, of course, has worked out. And of course, with COVID, everything slowed down a bit, but I used that time to create
So many.
new work and just kind of cultivate my connections that I had made previously. And yeah, and now I'm just so excited
Well,
for the new,
congrats. So what
the
do
new
you
year
think is
ahead.
next? Like, what do you think the next iteration is of your work? Or I guess the question is, what's next for Kavi?
So what's next is, you know, I know I said, so I'm planning a pop-up actually in LA in the spring. Yeah, I'm doing a collaborative show with another really amazing female artist. It's kind of under wraps right now, but it's gonna happen. It's gonna be so good. And basically, I'm gonna be in New York almost every month. I have a really almost all my collectors actually are from New York. I've made a really
That's
good home there, good presence. So I'm just kind of go back and forth from Florida, New York, and
I'm a New
yeah, it's been
Yorker,
really
so well, a trans,
wonderful.
very biased. I've lived in Manhattan for
Yeah,
7 years, so I've come
yeah,
to love the art scene there. To your point,
yeah.
there's so many collectors. I was in, but I was there for
Mhm.
Miami Art Week in, of course, Miami a few weeks ago, and a lot of the artists that I was talking to, I was asking them like where they sell most of their art, and a lot of them, the first response was New York, which is surprising because New York is just such a hotbed of,
Yeah.
well, one, you've got big money, two, you've got collectors, three,
Mhm.
you've got galleries. So it's like everything is just kind of like right there. Uh, so I said at the beginning of this kind of
Definitely.
jokingly about like crazy client stories, and I always think it's interesting to hear
Mhm.
about these. I've commissioned a few pieces, and I've joked with some of those artists that I'm like pretty, but I feel like I'm usually pretty respectful as we go through the process. So I'm just kind of, what if you have any like
Yeah.
stories about crazy client experiences?
Oh, yeah. I mean, definitely. Oh,
No,
I'm like really bad at this, obviously. Okay. Crazy client stories. Oh boy. So I had, let's see, I had this one collector who basically wanted to micromanage every single paint fleck, like every single thing. Like she was like, "Oh, why is this dot here? And why is that dot here? And why is that dot here?" And so I had to, I'm a very patient person, but in the beginning of my career, of course, I just definitely bent over backwards way too much for people because you can't control sometimes how the paint's gonna splatter and where. So that was definitely tested my patience for sure. And then when she had said she wanted no pink at all, she wanted all blue. And so I did everything blue, sent her picture. She was like, beautiful, love it. It's great. And then towards the end, when it was almost finished,
oh
she
my
says,
gosh. So
I
you
want it
have to read.
pink.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, I did. I did it. I actually did it. It kind of drove me crazy, but I did it. Yeah. And then, I mean, I get like these, honestly, been really lucky. Like now, I don't really have I haven't had anybody too crazy. I get like asked like, oh, can I fly you here? Or can I fly in and watch you paint? But my studio's not an open studio. I basically, once I come in the studio, I lock the door. I like to be by myself. I'm a very social person, but when I'm working, unless you're bringing me a smoothie or a snack or something, this door's not opening.
Makes sense. I've
So,
never thought about that, the
yeah.
open studio concept before. I've never thought of that. So people will go to
Hmm.
artist studios and watch them paint.
Yeah,
So
I've
it's
been offered a
a,
few
a public
times.
thing, or is it more like
Yeah.
someone's like, paint me a picture? It just sounds really weird. I'm sorry. I'm struggling with this concept. It's like paint a picture, and then I want to paint the
Oh,
picture. That's weird.
yeah,
You're at an art show and you're painting a picture
yeah.
at an art show. I get that. It brings attention, like sense. So is that Is that it though? They're
Right.
like, I'll buy a painting and then it's like, I want to watch. That is weird. Okay. That
Yeah. Yeah. I get some weird requests, but I don't know if it's also because I'm a woman and I'll just get some like, you know, creeps.
well, the
To
thing
say
is,
it
it
nicely. I don't know how to
sounds like
say that
you've got
nicely,
a
but
great career going here. Is there anything else, that you'd like to speak to the audience about before we go? I think we've hit so much about the inspiration behind your work. I love, like I said, I love how spiritual it is. We've talked a lot about your background. It's fascinating, and it makes how large of a role coming from
Mhm.
Bombay would play, and growing up in LA and whatnot.
Yeah, I mean, my biggest thing is it was really hard moving around so much in my life to connect with other women, especially. And so, why my focus mainly is on South Asian women is because it was my way to finally connect with them through my art. I've been able to meet some amazing, beautiful friends through this career that I never would have had an opportunity to living in Daytona because I moved around so much when I was little. It wasn't just LA, it was like LA, Virginia, New Jersey, Atlanta, and now Florida. I don't really, I've never had like a really close knit circle of friends because I never really not just felt like I belonged anywhere, but because I never was really in a place for that long to be able to have that community. And with art, I have a community now, and I just feel so close to my work and the people that have made, have made my career what it is now. Because without everybody, without everyone's support, I
Absolutely.
wouldn't be here,
So
you
we'll open
know?
her up to the audience for questions. We'll give it 10 seconds to see if any come in. And while we wait for that, because thank you so much for
Yeah.
taking time out to do this. I think it's so important for people to hear from the artist about their background, about the inspiration, about everything that goes into the work. Because when we look at different art and we try to evaluate, it's so subjective. You can't simply just look at a canvas and say, here's the price. Is it prettier? There's so much more that needs to be thought about. Not only just
Hmm.
like having a studio, maintaining it, getting raw materials, but also what's happened in the artist's life that has led them to be able to create such unique pieces. I love how yours have poetry in them. Like I said, I didn't
Hmm.
know that it was poetry that you wrote. I think that's so cool, and that adds like a whole nother dimension to the work. I'm obviously a
Hmm.
huge fan of mixed media. When you said the volcanic rock in that other piece, I was like, whoa, like that's not something very common that you see in a lot of pieces. And that goes back to that element of the
Hmm.
uniqueness, which I think is so, so special. So I think with that, we'll close this out. Thank you so
Hmm.
much for your, and we'll be sure
Thank
to post
you.
this. Thank you, everyone.
Okay,
Bye bye.
wonderful. Thank you. Bye.